Hello and welcome to News Today Globally. My name is Miss M. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. Wow, guys, the things we're hearing at the Madlanga Commission just leaves us speechless. Of course, we know there's corruption, but to this extent, we hear there and there, about this police corruptions and everything, but to this extent, where about 275 Metro police officers have criminal records, like they are stated, and probably find that is not even all of them. These are the only ones that were managed to be exposed, guys. This now makes sense why there's so much looting, entrepreneurs, corruption. It's like a whole circle of thieves, that put one another in position so that they can be able to loot and to steal properly. Because if they place people that are willing to do their jobs, if they put people that really want to change the state of the country in positions, they won't be able to get away with all those things that they're getting away with. So now it makes sense why they would hire of police officials with criminal records, about 275. Guys, are we even safe? Like at this point, even when a metro police officer stops you, you won't even be safe because you don't know who's stopping you. Is it a criminal? Is it an innocent police officer trying to do their job? Like, you wouldn't even understand. Guys, be safe out there. Like the things that are being exposed. I'm gonna play a video after this about like a video that explains, the type of corruption, the type of criminal records that these people have. And let me know in the comment section what you think about this video, guys. Are we safe? At night when you're driving, when a metro police officer stops you, how do you feel? Let us pray, guys. Let us be safe out there. And I will see you guys in the next video.
Now, retired Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department Deputy Chief River Spies says fingerprint testing of Metro police officers revealed 275 of them had criminal convictions, but said no action was taken over this. After fierce opposition from the brigadier who helped fit blue lights onto entrepreneur Vusumuzi Ketmatlala's cars, in evidence before the Madlanga Commission on Tuesday, Spies detailed the charges that EMPD were found guilty of, which included 58 counts of assault, 41 of theft, 33 of driving under the influence, and 28 of reckless and negligent driving. Now, another 15 officers are awaiting trial for murder. 14 are awaiting trial for fraud, and 8 are awaiting trial for robbery. For more on the story, we are joined by Jacob Mofokeng, who is a policing, safety and security expert. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us, Prof. Now, shouldn't these records not have been picked up in the vetting process? Because one might assume that to be a law enforcement official, you shouldn't be embroiled on the wrong side of the law.
Good evening, Masa, and good evening to Newsroom Africa viewers. Indeed, it is required by law that before any other person could be enlisted within law enforcement agencies, they need to be able to be verified whether they don't have a previous conviction. So normally, SAP 91 is supposed to be completed, and those with previous convictions, whatever it could be, then they are not supposed to be. And whilst they, those that have been cleared, as well as medical, everything is okay, then there's supposed to be continuous, vetting within particular law enforcement, whether it's within South African Police Service or within the metros. It's supposed to be that kind of vetting whereby the same process has to be followed. So those then that are found to have committed and then convicted with, either having SAP 69, whenever SAP 91 are being completed, and then when they come back from the forensic and criminal record centers, then such individuals then have to be called in to be able to follow HR processes. But what we heard then from Madlanga Commission is that there is no uniformity between, the systems. Someone can go elsewhere and, be convicted there, but then the system within the metros will not be able to pick that. But There are exceptions for individuals who might have, secured a criminal record while they are in the service of a particular law enforcement agencies. For instance, someone who could have been maybe in the call of duty, and let's say there's been exchange of firearms, or they are shooting with criminals, and in pursuing of those perpetrators, you find that an officer might have maybe injured a bystander. In that particular instance, even though the person might have killed that individual, then the person will be charged with, culpable homicide, but, the person will not be dismissed. But in a case of theft, robberies, and other related corruptive practices, once it has come to the attention of, management, especially HR, then such individuals should not be kept in the employ of, the law enforcement agencies.
Now, there's been astonishing testimony that we've heard, and as you're saying, Prof, such individuals shouldn't be kept in their employ. But what we do know is that they are, and it's shocking testimony, as I said in the intro as well, that's revealing a total of 100 officers who are awaiting trial, 58 guilty of counts of assault. Now, here's the troubling part, 15 awaiting trial for murder, and 4 having been found guilty of murder already. So where are these HR mechanisms that we speak of?
Yeah, well, we had in terms of the suspended Deputy Commissioner Mkhwanazi, in terms of how, those that, as early as almost 3 years, there have been those kind of submissions that there are supposed to be certain processes that are followed towards, the suspension. But we find a cohort of individuals within HR processes, as well as those, within senior management, who will be able to downplay. And we had also a former city manager who called that particular individual to say that the suspension of, Commissioner Mkhwanazi is unfair and then it should be shortened. So we find such, I'm of the view that, it is not only within the public sector that corruption is so, so rife. Even in other, arms of government, we still have individuals who will be able to protect those who are polishing their shoes. And unfortunately, now we have to hear these kinds of serious allegations, as well as, an overlooking of serious offenses within, law enforcement agencies. We often hear that, even at Madanga, what, the submissions that, well, maybe there has to be devolution of powers where, people at the local level will have to have accountability in terms of the kind of law enforcement that they will have. But look at Ikuruleni, it's just at a local level, but look at, the tenacity of those that are within power and the abuse of power, as well as, manipulation, as well as intimidation of those who want to see, pieces of legislations be implemented. Unfortunately, for those that are law-abiding as well as upholding the law, I'm talking about law enforcement officials, it brings morale, low morale within their ranks, because now it becomes difficult for them to be able to do policing, because members of the community that then will not be able to trust them. They will, ridicule them, maybe sometimes not even allow them, because they will not know, who to believe or who to trust, because they wear uniforms, they can have, police badges, but, then they abuse those kinds of, official duties.
When you use the words, the tenacity of those in power, one also can't help but think of the testimony that's coming out regarding the acting Deputy Chief Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi. And it's also said that while Rivers Peace had asked for these vetting processes to be done, allegedly Julius Mkhwanazi and his team of officers just blatantly refused to take this vetting process. Now, who does the back stop with, Prof? How does someone who's a senior official, this tenacity of this kind of power, just refuse to take the vetting process and their team?
Well, within Metropolis, we think of, the councils, they are there to be able to, as a last resort, to be able to bring the rule of law as well as a good governance. But in this particular incidence of, many reports, where the council was there, but as well as, the amendments of structures, meaning that even certain, oversight bodies within, this particular law enforcement agencies could be captured. Unfortunately, that's when now one will have to be able to address the Office of a Public Protector, even though, we heard that they can only take cases that will fall within a particular, durations. Other than that, then if those that are within this particular municipalities or within even, South African Police Service, they delay reporting such cases, then nothing will happen. So, we expected that Chapter 9 institutions, oversight bodies, as well as civilian secretariat, as well as IPIT, could have been having more teeth and effective teeth. But what we realize now is that many people, even those in senior positions, they knew about these things, but it could seem like nothing ever happened. So everyone was playing an ostrich. That is a problem that we are having in South Africa now, that if you become a whistleblower, you will either lose your job or you're going to be killed. So we're having a Madanga Commission now, and it seems like now all of a sudden we wake up from a deep sleep where all of a sudden we realize that South Africa is corrupt and is being corrupted by powerful people, and then who reward blind loyalties. Then, we need to be able to really, after this, that people need to be dismissed, those who overlooked, those who then never really took good governance into the right of, supporting the rights of the public. I think in that way, we will not be able to say that we can trust then whoever then is being put in the positions of authority. Look at the police, those people that were put in suspension at EMPD because they were trying to be able to deal with Mukwanaz. Mukwanaz was not the only person, but many powerful people in those positions. We have such in South Africa. So I think that is where we have to look at the Office of the Public Protector, but EMPD, as well as the South African Police Service, the IPIT, and all those other organs of state. We need to be seen to, they need to come forth and really to provide with an assurance that now they can be able to serve the interests of the South Africans.
And Prof, just briefly before I let you go, I have to get your insights on this as you're speaking about this growing trust deficit between law enforcement officials and community members, but also about the infighting within the police as well, and this growing trust deficit within and amongst themselves. Now, listening to Kilebogile Tipa's testimony gives us a glimpse into the dangers of such work in such an environment. What did you make of her testimony? Because if she's also being threatened as a part of the system itself, who are us as the ordinary lay citizens?
Yes, she really gave of harrowing, incidents where, she had to be, either kidnapped, but also how then it brought trauma, upon her life. But, this provides as a deterrence to those who really want to, to serve the communities and the public that they serve, that you will not be protected. And as such, if then those that are really promoting such kinds of, ills and evil, they will even try to plant you so that they can show you that if you don't join them, then you are going to suffer. So it really brings, like I did indicate, that those that are trying to serve the communities, they are now being affected by low morale. Because if an incident such as this and many others that we don't, we are not aware of infighting, and if then you happen to be on the side of the weak, perhaps those that are upholding the law, you're going to be overlooked for promotions, you could be suspended. Until then, in South Africa, the provincial, the local, as well as the, other organs of state can truly, apart from doing lip service, because, whenever incidents such as this later, we say, well, we are going to make sure that those that are implicated, they are going to face the might of the law. But what about, many years, that they've been knowing about these kinds of things? So it says to us that when you try to be a good police official, then unfortunately you will face certain repercussions. Not those that are corrupt, but those that, are on the side of, those that seems to be weak, unfortunately. But then for those that are fighting, it means that it looks like, which is wrong, it looks like those that are fighting and those that are, that are in the wrong, they've got more power, then it takes years for them to be able to face the consequences of doing that, which is wrong.
It is a sad state of affairs. Professor Jacob Mofokeng, thank you so much for your insights.